Welcome to Pharmaceutical Technologies Podcast, Wurster Fluid Bed Coating and Contract Development Manufacturing with Coating Place Incorporated. This podcast is brought to you by Coating Place Incorporated. Coating Place is the leader of Wurster Fluid Bed Coating with over 45 years of experience in the pharmaceutical CDMO industry. To find out more, please go to www.coatingplace.com. And now, here's your host for this podcast, the Senior Editor for Special Projects for Pharmaceutical Technology, Megan Manzano.
Hello, everyone. This is Megan Manzano, Senior Editor of Special Projects for Pharmaceutical Technology, and I'm here today with Jared McDonald, Director of Formulation Development for Coating Place, Inc. Thank you so much for being here today, Jared.
Thank you for having me.
To get us started, can you briefly tell us about the history of Wurster coating?
Yeah, the Wurster coating process was developed at the University of Wisconsin by Dr. Dale Wurster. He was looking for a good way to coat tablets and ended up finding a way to efficiently coat very small particles, all the way down to 50 microns or so. And that's about the diameter of a human hair, all the way up to several millimeters. At the time, there weren't a lot of great ways to do that. Even now, it's still one of the most efficient and economical ways to coat those types of substrates. So he filed his original patent in 1949 and then made several improvements to the equipment design on until the 60s. And then in 1976, two of the people that had been working at the coating labs on campus purchased the coating equipment and the IP from the university. And that is how Coating Place was founded.
For those that aren't familiar with this particular type of coating technology, can you explain how it works?
Sure. In Wurster coating, we take the particles that are to be coated, which can be anything from a powder, a crystal, a granule, a pellet, on up to something the size of a tablet, and we fluidize it. To fluidize the particles, what we're doing is drawing air through the particle bed so that everything is moving all at once, kind of like if you shake up a really dense snow globe. But this is a specific pattern of cyclic fluidizing where there are regions in the particle bed that travel upward with the fluidizing air, and then other regions where those particles drop back down with gravity. In that area where the particles are traveling upward, we have a nozzle mounted on the bottom of the bed that sprays very fine droplets of coating liquid. Those droplets get deposited and dry on individual particles. And after that iterative process of flowing past the nozzle and getting more and more of those droplets applied, a discrete coating is formed around each particle. That nozzle placement within the fluid bed is how Wurster coating differs from other types of fluid bed coating. That intimate contact with the particles provides for very efficient coating, often in excess of 99%. And we can apply a vast array of coatings with this method as long as it's a pumpable liquid starting out. It can be a solution, a suspension, an emulsion, aqueous, organic solvent, or even something like a melted fat or a wax.
What kinds of needs do your customers have for coating such small particles?
Well, our clients range from pharmaceutical, dietary supplement, food, all the way to industrial applications. The coatings can change the surface properties of powders so that they have better flow characteristics or wettability, like an instantized cocoa powder. We can apply a moisture or oxygen barrier to extend stability and shelf life. As you probably know, a lot of the medicines that we take, like acetaminophen and ibuprofen, have a bitter flavor. We can apply a thin taste mask coating to those so that the medicine can get past taste receptors in the mouth before dissolving. We have pharmaceutical and supplement clients that may want to deliver their formulation past the stomach to later in the digestive tract. That might be to avoid discomfort from release in the stomach, or it could be to protect the formulation itself from the acidic conditions. And we can formulate enteric coatings that release at specific target areas all along the GI tract. One of the most common types of coating that we apply is for extended release. That can take the dissolution rate of a particle from minutes out to several hours. We've successfully extended the release of some medicines out to 12 hours or more. And that's really important for patient compliance in the pharmaceutical industry, where a patient may have had to take a standard dose several times a day. They could take a single extended release dose in the morning and have a therapeutic effect the rest of the day. We can even use the particles that we fluidize as a carrier. For example, an oil like CBD or a dissolved drug can be sprayed onto a core, and then we can further coat that for the desired characteristics. Those are just some of the examples, and multiple different coatings can be applied onto individual particles to provide a wide range of functionality. We've applied as many as 7 different coatings onto a pellet.
What would you say to a potential customer that asks, why wouldn't I just buy a piece of equipment and do my own coating?
I would say that's certainly an option. There are some good manufacturers out there that will sell you Wurster equipment. But once that equipment's installed and calibrated along with a properly sized blower, pumping system, mixing vessels, then comes the hard part. You really need a good understanding of formulating and critical process parameters, because for every product and coating process, there's a specific combination of process temperatures, fluidizing airflow, humidity, spray rate, nozzle conditions that will give the optimal product. Coating Place has over 45 years of experience with Wurster coating, so chances are that we can develop a formula and process quite efficiently. For example, we recently had a customer come to us with a formulation they had already developed. And by tweaking the processing conditions and the coating solution composition, we managed to decrease their processing time from 9 hours to 1 hour and cut their organic solvent use by 60%. That was all while scaling the process up to a 500 kilo batch size with no change to the finished product characteristics. All of these improvements resulted in a substantial price reduction for their product. That scaling that I mentioned is another important part of deciding to go with a contract manufacturer. Let's say you install a coater to make 50 kilo batches of your product, and then your demand drastically increases. Now you either have to buy another coater at the same size or even larger, or risk shorting the market. Coating Place has the ability to scale processes from 100 grams all the way up to 800 kilos. And we also have redundancy on each size of our commercial equipment. We still design and construct all of that Wurster coating equipment. So if there's ever any mechanical concerns, our engineering group handles it rather than having to call an equipment manufacturer halfway across country. As we've evolved over the years, we've also expanded into other areas that complement Wurster coating, like milling, blending, capsule filling, tableting, ion exchange resins, high shear granulation, and spheronizing. And last, we have an on-site GLP laboratory for raw material, product testing, and support of research and development. In general, it's favorable to keep as much of your process train at a single facility as possible. So our customers appreciate us having all those other complementary capabilities on site. So those are some of the reasons that our clients decide to go with a contract manufacturer rather than take on the complexities of Wurster coating themselves.
All right. Well, I think you've given us a lot of information today, Jared. So I want to thank you so much for being here today.
Thank you very much.
This has been Megan Manzano, Senior Editor of Special Projects for Pharmaceutical Technology. Thank you to everyone for listening.
You've been listening to Pharmaceutical Technologies Podcast, Wurster Fluid Bed Coating and Contract Development Manufacturing with Coating Place Incorporated. This podcast is brought to you by Coating Place Incorporated. Coating Place is the leader in Wurster Fluid Bed Coating with over 45 years of experience in the pharmaceutical CDMO industry. To find out more, please go to coatingplace.com.